Is there a secret recipe for beautiful, giving, loving relationships? We heard a few ideas just now. Are there more? Maybe. What can you learn from your relationship with your partner that you can take to your professional and other relationships in your life? Our speakers today will address this and so much more about building relationship capital. She is the founder and lead coach of Relearn Love LLC. He is a growth coach and soul mentor for high achievers. Her mission is to help people elevate their relationships for deeper, more intimate and fulfilling connections. His mission is to help soul-aligned leaders unlock their greatest achievement potential and expand into an even more abundance and health, wealth, and love. She is one of the most highly referred relationship coaches globally, working with clients across 6 continents. He is a highly sought after, hard-driven, no-fluff, intuitive coach who has been hired by powerful leaders in corporates and transformational communities. She is the author of the best-selling book, Relationship Agreements. He is a TEDx speaker who has delivered over 500 talks and an author of 8 books. Together, this couple are a dynamic, passionate, loving couple whose love and respect for each other just seems endless. They even have a chapter of their love story featured in the Chicken Soup for the Soul, The Miracle of Love. Both of them say that the most important role they are playing right now in their lives are that of loving parents to 2 incredible kids. They both are just amazing. Please help me welcome the couple who are in a conscious relationship, Jaymin Patel and Eri Kardos, all the way from Bali.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, so lovely to see both of you again.
Great to see you. That was a beautiful introduction.
That was
Thank you so much.
beautiful.
We feel so loved.
Oh.
Yeah,
We feel so loved and seen.
Thank you.
And Jaymin is all in his Indian finery, I'm thinking.
Well, yeah, I have like my dupatta
Yes.
thing, but yeah, just
Nice. Thank you. Thank
I
you so
fuse
much.
my Indian style with this kind of spiritual, conscious community style and put it into one.
No? And I forgot to mention, yeah, you have chai. My chai is and you have a
Cheers to
clothing
everybody.
line too. You have a clothing line too, Jaymin. So I forgot to
I'm
mention.
developing a clothing line. Yeah, exactly. And it's mixing. It's actually everything that I was inspired by watching the Mahabharata and the Ramayana growing up, and putting it into something I can wear with the kids and hop onto my scooter and get to a meeting and have it all work as one. So it's pretty cool.
Wonderful. And we are looking for a SHEmantra, offsite at Bali soon. So who knows?
Yes, everyone come about it.
So good.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
just amazing.
So the stage is all yours. I'm going to disappear for some time. So we're looking forward to listening to you sharing your tips and tricks and how you keep everything going.
Great, wonderful.
Amazing.
Thank you so much, Kavita.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
hello, everybody. Hope
Hi.
you're all doing so amazing. Eri and I are super honored to be here at the SHEmantra Fest and speak to you all about relationship capital. Our goal today is to talk a little bit about our relationship, what we have learned in our relationship journey that has really led to creating something that we find to be pretty unique as we talk to more and more couples around the world. And then we're going to talk about what fuels that and what we realized looking back over the past 8 years has really made that something special that you can all do. We're going to share 3 big shifts that you can create in your own relationship or your next relationship if you're not in one right now. And then finally, we're going to tell you how all of the things that we've learned in our relationship, our romantic relationship, then translates into parenthood, into our clients, into our team, into our coworkers, community, and how the relationship capital has really brought us to where we are. So,
Yes.
does that sound good to everyone? If yes, give us some love in the chat. Give us a yes, a woohoo, a let's go.
Hey.
Yes, all right.
Totally. Here we go.
Loving this. Oh, wow. This chat is blowing up. Everyone's still awake. I love it. Thank you for being with us at the end of day 1. So when I was growing up, so I'm 100% Gujarati Patel, but I grew up in America and was born there as well. And so my family had really hunkered down on the culture when we had moved there. And so growing up, it is very clear to me that it was very simple. My marriage plans were pretty much set for me. All I had to do was marry a woman, and as long as she was Indian, it'd be great. And not just Indian, but Gujarati would be great. But well, actually, not just Gujarati, but Patel. Just like Patel. And then not just Patel, but like Aparaje Panchgam Chane, Emati Agam Achargam Chalsa, right? Like so, it was just like down to the T. Not only did she have to be Patel from the Panchgam Gujarati, ideally, right? So Patel, right? Then she also had to be someone who would be a supermodel, right? And look like Katrina and Kaif. And then she also would be an amazing chef. And of course, she would stay with my parents and keep them in the house. And she'd be a great mom. It was very easy. There's just all these women were walking around who fit the bill, right? So it was very complicated. There was so much expectation that was put on who I was supposed to marry and what would bring honor to the family. And then the universe had a completely different plan in mind for me. And so then I met this woman who was pretty much the opposite of everything that my family had kept in mind in terms of, and as you can imagine, all my family in India is like, oh my God, beta, when you get married, then we'll come to America. Like, everyone was waiting for me and this wedding. So there was a lot of pressure. Can anyone relate to this? Anyone getting pressure from their parents or aunties or uncles? Yes? Yeah. So this is the way I grew up. And then my heart and the universe chooses Eri. And when we connect, something really magical happens. And it feels as though we are like the same person, but in different bodies. And she happens to be gorgeous. And I said, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we fell in love, and within 6 weeks, I knew that I was going to marry her. So, we were brushing our teeth one morning, and I turned to her and I said, you know what? I'm going to marry you. I just knew it. I knew it more clear than anything. And I said to her, well, how long do I have to wait before I ask you?
But I'm a relationship coach, and there's something called new relationship energy, which is all those bubbly feelings you have when you're first getting together. And it usually fades off around 6 months in. So I told him, you have to wait at least 6 months because we have to get over all these butterfly feelings until it's real.
Yeah. And so we move into this phase called the mature relationship energy, where love is not just the feeling we have of like, oh my God, I think you're so amazing, but it's the mature relationship energy of choosing love each day, right? And one of my favorite Bollywood films, my mom's favorite Bollywood films when I was young was the movie Balmain, if you know this. And in there's this line that in the West, people believe that love is the beginning of marriage. And in the East, people believe that marriage is the beginning of love. And I see already that we have both generations and both schools of thought here present on the call today. And so I thought this was very wise by Eri to say, let's not rush into things. Let's get to the point where love needs to become a choice we make every day. And we got to that point, and in 6 months, I asked her to marry me. And then we had 2 kids and traveled around the world, and everything became that. Now, here's the interesting thing about mature relationship energy. Whether you begin with arranged marriage, whether you begin with love marriage, you're going to get to this point where that love is like the feeling, that new relationship energy Eri mentioned will fade, and you got to keep it alive. We can talk about that in a moment.
There are ways.
Eri is really good at this, in fact. And then the second thing is that, even if you're in arranged marriage, and all of a sudden you must choose to love this person, whoever that might be, even if they're, have their own thoughts and feelings and all this sort of stuff. We need to come together. And so even for Eri and I, when we began saying, oh my God, you're exactly like me, we have the same values, everything's aligned, let's go. Within a few years, we hit a point where we realized, oh my gosh, you are actually very different than me.
Very different.
Very, very different.
We thought we were the exact same.
Yeah,
No.
And then as we got deeper into different values, different ways we were raised, different preferences, for one example, I am an external processor. Eri is an internal processor. So whenever something is going on, I want to go blah, 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 blah. And whenever something's going on for her, she wants to be alone, And so, this is just some of the dynamics where we're like, oh, that's very different. How do we navigate that? And, we've tried so many things. Eri, being a relationship coach, has literally read every relationship book under the sun you can imagine. As a result, I have had that wisdom as well, either directly reading it or hearing it from her or doing practices. I've gone my own way and explored these things. And what we have found at the heart of what we have done, we've gone through challenging periods, and most of the time now it's very euphoric. The arguments that would take us 5 days of like, no, I'm not hungry, I'm gonna make my own dinner. right? And that sort of dialogue now takes 20 minutes for us to move through, right? So in 15 or 20 minutes, we're back in reconnection because we've learned new tools. We've done something different than the same. The problem with most people in relationship is they want to try the same thing and just hope that somehow it's going to bring something else. It's not going to work. As long as you try the same thing, as long as you believe. I love Madhavi's question in here. Madhavi, she wrote, how do we get the men in our lives to change the limiting mindset that Raj is speaking to and begin to open their hearts? That's the real question. The real question is not to just stay parked where we are, but to be willing to change and open. When that can happen, everything becomes possible. So, babe, you want to talk about, these are the 3 big shifts that we have made in our lives, that we've made as agreements in our relationship that have allowed us to really transcend so much of the usual day-to-day, what I would call relationship BS, and move into a place where now our relationship is the place that we can find our highest growth with each other and support each other in the highest growth. And to me, the whole view of what is partnership, what is intimacy, has changed as a result of these 3 shifts.
So the first one, if you have your pens ready, here we go. The first one is to question why you are doing anything that you do, especially in relationship, especially in love. The first one is really question it. Why is it that you're in this partnership? Why is it that you're behaving this way? Why is it that you have the same date plan every week? Why is it that you're comparing yourself with your family members?
Yeah, I will say the worst date you can go on is dinner and a movie. Okay? Dinner and a movie is a terrible date. You're gonna eat the same, you're gonna sit across from each other, you're gonna be eating the food, you're gonna sit next to each other, watching a film, come home and wonder why. Maybe there's not more intimacy, right? So if you wanna have intimacy, it's like questioning, why is this the date we're doing? Is this what we both love, or is this what we feel couples should be doing? And therefore we're doing it, but it's not giving us the impact that we want. How much more exciting would it be to go on a hike, to go to a cooking lesson, to take a pottery class, to do something new and different? Here's the thing that Eri talked about. She talks about this idea of nice dates, new, interesting, challenging, and exciting.
Yeah, so it's really important. You can change your brain chemistry just by going on a date that's new, interesting, challenging, and exciting for both of you. This is really important. So it doesn't mean you have to go skydiving every week. Instead, it's how do you do something that's different? And it could be as crazy and simple as, okay, we cooked dinner tonight, but we're gonna really mix it up by we're gonna sit under the table instead of at the table. How weird would that be? And it's gonna shift things in your brain. You're gonna be like, whoa, that's not what I expected. Yeah. And how romantic is it? Now we can put a little candle out and have dinner inside a fort.
Right? So you can begin to get very creative. And so the way that this showed up first in Eri and I's life is that, again, we had the unique opportunity where we brought together 2 different cultures and backgrounds and religions. So Eri was born in the Christian tradition. I was obviously born in the Hindu tradition. When we came to our first wedding, we said, what is marriage? What does this mean to people? Why do people have these customs? Am I going to give you a bindi and a Mangalsutra, or are we going to do rings? And so just because of the difference that we had, it actually really came up for us to question what we wanted to do. And what we realized is, even for our engagement, the idea of a ring just didn't fit well with us. And if you love rings, that is great. I think rings have different meaning for different people. So you should ask what it means for you. But for us, it almost felt as though we were saying, hey, actually, what I want you to do is wear a collar that lets people know that you're mine when you're in public. Okay, wow. Am I like your master and your owner? And now you have to wear this kind of collar around your finger so you indicate to people that they're taken? Like, is that really the energy of our relationship? Or is our relationship about lifting each other up? Is it about a commitment? Is it about so many other things? And so instead, we chose to get a matching tattoo of that unifies our commitment,
like our life philosophy and our commitment to each other and to growth and to continuously questioning how can we experience the A&D of life? How can we really have it all? How can we be parents together and travel the world and do meaningful work in the world and have our own individual lives too?
Yeah. And so, this is something that I think each of you can do. The first thing is just look at the relationship you're in or the last relationship you had and begin questioning why. Why is my husband like this? Why is my partner like that? Why does that meaning happen? And then just talk about it and then unwind it and say, What can we be doing instead? All right. So
that's number one. Second one is we invite you to follow a new model. Imagine that your relationship is a blank canvas, that you can create anything that you want. So instead of following an old pattern you saw in a Bollywood film, maybe you saw your parents do it, maybe you see your friends doing it. Instead, it's like, what do you want to create? And find a model that really aligns to you now, that just fits you.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of go a layer deeper to share. There is something that I learned by, being in marriage with Eri. I always say, if I'd married anybody else, I'd be divorced by now. She's so much that she brought to the table. But the one thing that I loved at the very beginning of our relationship was she introduced me to the relationship escalator. All right, anyone know write in the chat if you've heard of this concept before. The relationship escalator. Our voice is not audible. Is that true? Can you hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear me.
Thumbs up if you can.
Okay, everyone else can hear me. So maybe on your side, want to know. Okay, great. So the relationship escalator is this idea that once we begin seeing someone, we're automatically put onto a relationship escalator. And we can't even tell we're on it, but the way we react to each other, our friends, I met a girl. Okay, well, this is serious. Okay, well, I don't know. We're just seeing each other. Okay, well, if it's serious and a month later we meet again, well, do you have a toothbrush over there? Are you guys moving in soon? Are you going to get engaged? Have you done, the thing, right? And then are you going to introduce your parents, right? Every time we achieve something in a relationship, always we say, well, are you going to do the next thing? Is this serious or is it not? Are you going to introduce the parents? Are you going to have your siblings meet? Are you going to get engaged? Are you going to have married? Are you going to have kids? Are you going to get a new house? It's always never good enough for us to enjoy relationships the way that we want to enjoy them. And so invisibly, there is this escalator that we're just put on, that if we're not advancing our relationship to the next societal level, somehow we're doing something wrong. And that is what leads people into saying yes to engagement proposals that they maybe want to say no to, or feel like I'm too old, I need to get married, and all this pressure. But the reality is you can follow a new model that works for you. And when you say, hey, no, we're not planning to get married, we're just going to be engaged for 10 years. That works for us. That's what we want. All of a sudden, the other person is going to say, oh my gosh, so that's possible? I can do that? I thought you have to get married like within a year of getting engaged. Otherwise, So this is what is a huge shift that Eri has brought to me into our relationship to really bring it together. So this is the second shift. Find a new model that works for you.
Mm-hmm. And the third one is immersing yourself with your partner. So there's something about really seeking out opportunities to be together and to find ways to grow together, and looking for people who even model that for you. Like, what is it that they are doing that you really want to become, that you want to shift into? How can you be there together through that experience? Find other couples, whether you're single or in a couple, find couples who have that love, who are modeling that for you, who you can go hang out with and just get a taste of what is it that their wisdom has for you. And also there's this concept I talk about in my book called Fred. And the idea is that there's actually not two people in this relationship. There's three entities. There's me, there's you, and there's the relationship. And the relationship has its own energy, its own form, its own needs. It's like a child that needs to be nourished and fed and taken care of and nurtured. And a lot of times we think about, I'm going to take care of you, or you're going to take care of me, or I'm going to take care of me and you're going to take care of you. We don't look at, okay, what does this relationship really call for right now? And how can we be with it and take care of it regularly with a lot of intention?
Yeah, and so one of the things that we do, for example, is that we go on dates regularly. So even though we're married, we still have date night, like religiously. Every week we have a date night. And so we get a nanny to watch the kids, and they're sad that we're going, but we say, no, it's our date night. And they're like, oh, and then now they're like, hey, did you have a date night this week? You guys didn't go anywhere. So whatever you make normal.
I just want to pause for any parents out there. This is really important that you're modeling what a healthy relationship is, and that you are the primary couple for your children, because what they see you doing now is what they will do later on. So if you feel like when they are your age and this is the life you want for them, keep doing what you're doing. If it's not, this is the perfect time to start considering how you want to shift.
Yeah, exactly. And we can go a lot into parenting. As Kavita mentioned, we are parenting fanatics. We have read so many books on this topic and teach it. And And it's such an important topic for us, but it's a little bit different than what we're focused on today. But this is just a little insight into that piece. But so being in that, and just the other day, we were joking, but one of our friends, like 3 months ago, was like, I'm ready to call in my relationship, like my partner. I want to hang out with you guys more. I just want to see you interact. I just want to see, like, what is it like? Because when I can see that happening, then I can see it for myself, right? And she just made her.
This week she announced she found it.
Yeah,
she found her person.
So it's there. You're here at SHEmantra. That's an amazing step. So everyone here, I already know your heart is in the right place. Find the couples who are doing the new thing. Be around them more. If you're around couples who are fighting, when I grew up, I'll tell you one thing. All the aunties would be in the kitchen and I'd go get some samosas or something and they'd be talking about the men, right? Then I go in the garage and all the guys are drinking and smoking, which I hated. And then they'd all be talking about the women. Do you think any couples in that dynamic were ever going to improve? If all the women lamented with the women who were having the same issues and knew there was going to be a change, and all the men lamented about the women and there was going to be a change? No. If you want to make a change, then you have to find a different model and be around people who are in that model and say, yeah, I have had this issue. Like, he never pays attention to me, or, he never does the dishes, or a lot of whatever it is. It's like, great, here's what we do about that. Oh, let me try that, right? That's what's going to shift you into a new place, right? And so we have a tendency to repeat what's familiar, but whenever you try the same thing, it's going to give you the same results, right? So it's about trying something new. So the 3 shifts, in summary.
Number 1, question why you're doing anything that you do. Number 2, follow a new model that aligns to you, that you really believe in. And 3 is to immerse with your partner.
Yeah, right. And immerse with the people who are in that model and really focus on what does the relationship need. Now, these are the shifts that we've made in, exactly. So these are the shifts that we have made that have allowed us to create a foundation of what we call conscious related. And in that, our commitment to each other is very unique. So we're not in a place where we say, okay, I found you, now you have to stay with me forever, right? Like that, we don't have that. We know that even if we committed to being together forever, like that's a lie. Like we don't know what the future holds. There's no way I can give Eri the security of forever, nor can she give me the security of forever, right? And in America, 50% of marriages end in divorce because people try to promise this, right? In India, I think the divorce rate is lower, but the fulfillment and happiness rate of long-term marriages is probably very low. I even tell my parents sometimes, I go, I think it might be better if you just get divorced. I don't even know why you're together. I think you'd be much happier. No, beta, we cannot do that. So it's like, then you're just stuck in a jail, right? And so first thing that we recognize is this commitment to being in our sovereignty, really supporting each other in our sovereignty and navigating what comes up as a result of that. Now, how does this translate into the other relationships in your life, right? So again, same thing with kids. Okay, so there's so much emphasis, a really amazing book recommendation that I just finished yesterday. It's called The Carpenter and the Gardener.
Yeah. I think it's The
Gardener and a Carpenter. Amazing book I recommend for all parents. But the idea is, can you bring new models to the way that you are parenting, right? When it comes to professional relationships, the idea of relationship capital is the idea of not how many people so it's not the quantity of what a networker you might be, but the real quality of those relationships. In my TED Talk, I talk about how when I was quitting my corporate career, right, where I was making about, oh my gosh, $250,000 US a year in salary, right, working for high-level CEOs and doing strategy projects, to then go become an inspirational speaker, author, and coach, right? During that time, everyone was like, you have to be crazy to do this, right? You have all this money saved up, But I knew it wasn't about the financial capital. It was about the relationship capital. I looked around me and I saw the opportunities of who in my network could support me on the way to where I was going, whether it's a referral, a reference, booking me to speak, right? I knew I could rely on my parents. I went back home and I stayed there for 7 months and slept in my childhood room, so I didn't have to pay rent while I bootstrapped and got things going. And it was that building of relationship capital deep connections, okay? And the way to know if you have relationship capital with someone is whether you can spend the night at their house, okay? If you can build relationship capital with someone in a way that's like, yeah, like come over, you know, like spend the night here, like, you know, our house is your house, like that, like real commitment, those are the people that you want to cultivate. And if, as long as you have that, anything is possible for you. Nothing should hold you back. And so in today's day and age where it's a quick hello, people don't feel, you know, they feel awkward about getting to the deeper layers of conversation, right? That's where the magic happens. Building the relationship capital is about doing that longer term investment of time and energy up front to build the relationship so that they will serve you in the longer term.
Beautiful. Well said. Yep.
Okay. We're just at 30 minutes.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing. So this ties really well in with what we just talked about within the 3 shifts of our relationship, within a romantic relationship. The same thing applies within your relationship capital, within the deep connections around you. Now, question why are you doing what you're doing with those people? Are you really nurturing the relationship and building it so that it's strong if and when you're ready to need it, when you need it? And really looking for, are you following a model that aligns with your heart, that you're like, oh yeah, I really want to be invested in this person. I want them invested in me, and we can be there for each other vulnerably. And then the same thing with immersion. You know, we look for other couples that we want to be around, we want to emulate, that we can put ourselves with. Same thing goes with your career or parenting or wanting to start a business, wherever you are in your journey, you can immerse yourself in people who inspire you and can share their wisdom.
Yeah, I have a full 90-minute presentation that I do called Network Like a Rock Star. This is what I've, you know, built my whole business on. I'm going to give you the most simplest trick to getting to any relationship you have in your life to go deeper. Anyone want that? Type in the chat if you want that. Give me a yes, a woohoo. If you want the most simplest way to get to deeper connection and build relationship capital. Yes, we're saying all yes. Okay? It's so simple. 3 words. Whenever you're talking with someone, before you respond, just say, tell me more. And shut up. Tell me more, and let them say, oh, well, yeah, well, you know, and then also like my dad is sick. And then oh my gosh, I didn't know your dad was sick. You don't know what's going to come up. Then that's where you build the seeds for the deep relationships to grow, have a solid foundation so that you can support each other moving forward. This is the way. So if anyone you're meeting, networking event or client or whatever, and you want to build a deeper connection, engage in the typical conversation, but dig deeper. Tell me more. Oh my gosh. Yeah, tell me more. Oh, wow. Like, tell me more. Then you get to the really good stuff.
It works great with spouses too.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, definitely good. So let's turn over to questions. Let's end there. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
And we can go so many directions with this. That was a lightning speed class. So thank you for coming through all that. And yeah, Kavita, let us know what's most relevant and what you want to.
I think there are 100 questions in the chat box, but let me ask people who want to ask questions to raise their hand, and then maybe I can pick at least 4 or 5 questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think Deepa had a good one, and people were saying, oh, Deepa. So,
yes, Deepa, I told her to ask that question live. Let's see, where's Deepa? Deepa is one of our SHEmantrans.
Yeah, I'm here, and
yes, Deepa.
Hi, Kavita. Hi, Jaymin. And this is beautiful. I loved what you said over the last 30 minutes. And what struck me was the 3 shifts, which are absolutely brilliant. A little difficult to implement. I guess it needs a lot of focus and attention to implement them. But my question really was, what happens in a long marriage when people evolve differently? One person grows in a certain direction, the other is where that person was when the relationship started. So they evolve differently, and after 20 years realize there's nothing common in between them, and there's nothing to talk about, there are no conversations. So how do you handle such a situation?
Great. Do you want to start or shall I?
Yes, I also love the suggestion that came in of renaming us so people can see my name at the same time.
Oh,
like, great. Oh, that's cute. We can do that.
Yeah, I can do that.
So the problem of us each having our own Zooms. And thank you for that call out. I appreciate it. Let's see. Evolving over time together. Well, it turns out that you are not the same person today as you were 6 months ago or will be 6 years from now. And so it makes a lot of sense that your partner is not going to be either. So for me, I really just encourage people to be with that idea that we want to be in relationships that are evolving and not locked into some stagnant idea of like, this is who they are. And then oftentimes I think the feminine is seeking the sense of safety. And I think that the masculine is seeking a sense of freedom. So the masculine energy, we both have the masculine and feminine within us. The masculine energy is like, how can I go out and express myself and be free in this, like, I want to grow and we're going here. And the feminine is like, I want to feel really safe and juicy in this space and this nest that I'm making. And there's a lot more to it. And it's way new. I'm just, hierarching. But within this, there's so much. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, let's apply the model. Yeah. So Deepa, I know this is whose relationship, the main of yours. 20 years, okay? So now you're here, you don't have a lot to relate to. And what do you do every day? You still make the tea, you still make the dinner, you still hang out, maybe you're in the same bed, but you're reading your own books, you say goodnight, hold the hand, whatever. Maybe that's the best. Okay, why are we doing this? So the first thing is to lean into what is vulnerable. Hey, honey, why are we doing this? 20 years ago, we had a deep connection. We seem to have grown apart. I know I love you. That's why I show up every day and kind of do this, not like a whole knot duck, but just like, hey, this has just become a routine more. Maybe it's not a play, but it's a routine. And so you say, why? Let's talk about this. Why are we doing this? Clearly we love each other. Otherwise, one of us would have been like, screw you, I'm out of here. So let's talk about it. Why do we do this routine? Why are we not making this more exciting? What can make it more exciting? How can we each find reconnection to each other with who we are now and see if there's something, right? So that's the first thing. And then what you do is you create the new model from that, right? So then you say, okay, so this is what we do in the morning. We say hello, we say goodnight. We need to shake things up. What does that look like? If there's kids involved, how do we make sure that they feel safe and not a jarring feeling from what we're doing, but that we move into something new? What is the new model for us? As long as we're doing the hi, hellos and all this, what are we getting? Well, we feel like we're creating a stable environment for the kids. We feel like we're going along with the Joneses of what society, asks of us. We feel like, it's settled and not demanding, but we also don't feel ecstatic and intimate in all of these things. So we're getting something by following this. But what are we leaving on the table? If we want to start bringing that back on, what is the new thing we can be doing? Let's go on a vacation. Let's try a nice date, right? Let's read some books together, right? Let's open up and move our cart, which is moving in this direction with almost no momentum, and let's slowly get back on a course. And here's the most important parts. Let's take this journey knowing that at the end of it, it may also mean that we don't choose to relate anymore. That's a possibility. That is what's going to make it an adventure. That is what's going to bring you to honesty, because the reason the grown apart feeling is there is I'm not being authentic. You're not being authentic. I can't be me around you. You feel like you can't be you around me. Okay, what is going to lead us to that, right? With the recognition that love is still here. Otherwise, you wouldn't choose to do this routine every day. So once you do that, then get out of your usual pattern, start immersing yourself in new places. SHEmantra events, follow us on, we post all the time on different stuff that you can chat about, our posts go crazy when we post about our relationship. Read amazing relationship books, right? Together, and right?
I was gonna say, we consciously have chosen to work with another coach or professional always.
Yeah.
Because that's where we get challenged. Like, just because I'm a relationship coach doesn't mean that I don't need a relationship coach, because they can see things outside of the relationship that I can't see. Yeah. And so we're really invested in like what is there and how can we learn together and grow together so we're speaking the same language, so we are evolving over time together.
Yeah. And so, and also, I think many people on here are coaches. If you believe your coaching can help people, then I believe it's only an integrity to believe someone else's coaching can help you, right? So like when I meet a coach and they don't have a coach, like this is my first question when I find a new coach, I say, well, who are you coaching with? Because I, in the last 10 years, just for me, not even for us included, have had a minimum of 2 coaches for the past 10 years always. I'm constantly getting coached. That's what led me to be where I am and do different things. Eri also has her own set of coaches, and then we often coach together. Like, oh, hey, this is coming up. Let's go do this. Let's do a tantra weekend. Let's do a retreat next week. Tomorrow, we're leaving for a week to go on an embodiment retreat, together. So we're constantly investing into new containers that put a spotlight on our relationships that we can evolve. That's the mindset to have. And one thing about the beginning of your question, you said, hey, those 3 shifts are there, but they take a lot of work, right? And the answer is yes, they do. But hopefully it's important, right? And because there's two layers to this. Because it's so important, it requires a lot of work to do something different. And because it requires a lot of work, it feels so important when you get there. Yeah. And so if things didn't require work, they wouldn't be important to us.
The last thing I want to add to this is work can also involve play.
Yeah.
It can be really fun. It can be a blast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We do work, but we call it, we believe it to be the most beautiful work that we could be doing. In addition to parenting, our relationship is just the most beautiful work we could be doing. It's challenging, but on the other side of it, when you come back into that connective place, it's just elevating the connection and security and freedom that you can experience. So it's a big undertaking.
And I love how you actually showed how to use the 3 shifts. And my apologies, Eri, for calling your name out wrong. And I changed it out there, so now it's clear there. Thank you so much for your.
Good. It's a strange name.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deepa, for the question. And I also like one more thing that you both said. I've been married 32 years, and I think at certain points, so I think we just forget communicating, right? And I liked your tip of tell me more, because we don't listen to our spouses anymore because we assume they understand us, they know us, and they should know. But I think we should have date night where one person says, tell me more, the other person talks, and the next date is the other person talks. I think it's a good idea. I think for older couples like us, I think we should take it there. So anyway, thank you.
Yeah,
I love it.
I think Aarti has a question. So let's ask Aarti.
Hi, Aarti.
Hi, good evening, or whatever the time zone you guys are in. My question is basically, I might be the youngest SHEmantran actually.
Oh, wow.
Not bringing the age factor before Kavita gets after me on that one, but I am a byproduct of a globalized conscious parenting style and of a globalized conscious living and schooling. So what I experience, maybe you guys can relate to it, that today in my generation, the casual relationships, the way they are nurtured and brought upon, we don't have any sense of respect for traditional relationships. Let's just say love is love, and we choose to be with anybody we choose to be. But when you talk about relationship capital, how did both of you establish your boundaries? Today we talked about boundaries within ourselves and in our relationships around in so many ways. But what I would like to ask both of you, you said creating your own model. So what was your inner self work model before you worked as a couple in your spiritual boundaries and personal boundaries?
Wonderful question. Thank you.
I'll let you start.
All right. So a couple things come to mind right away. So this idea of the new model and the old model are still models. And you don't need to subscribe to either. You can choose your own. And even in our day and age, everyone around us, they're still dating lots of people. They're like, oh, I want to have kids. 4 years later, they're still dating around. Okay, they're getting in the 30s and 40s, right? So they're in that model. They've just, they can't break out of the model. We had to choose to come out of the model. And a couple different things. I mean, there's oh my gosh, so much I can say here. But number one, in terms of personal boundaries is, I'll tell you something. I had decided being a father was so important to me that regardless of if I was dating someone or not, I knew at 35, I was going to be a dad. I had already contacted a nurse at an IVF facility in Colorado, and it was my value that drove me to say, I'm not going to stick around and be sucked into this other model and become an old man without kids. When I'm 35, I'm going to have kids. So I think the idea of wanting children, for example, was a real hard stop, like kind of boundary for me and a personal value. So oftentimes our boundaries are the flip of our personal values, right? Eri had the same value. And so when we connected, I mean, we had been connected since, like 14, 15 years ago, but it never went anywhere. Then we met in person, and as we started connecting, she was like, "Oh, I'm living in a conscious community, and I, all of these things." We found, oh my gosh, we have all these same values, and how do we stand for those? So we had both been investing so much into our personal coaching to know that we're living a value-driven life of what matters to us, and we both have always chosen to go opposite to the crowd. So we've been in the crowd, we'll flow with it. This is what I talk about in my TED Talk. Try normal for a while, then go be weird. That's what we've both done. So we've tried the normal, and then we've just chosen to be weird. Two weirdos attracted each other, and I did a whole manifestation practice to manifest this woman.
This weirdo.
That's why I knew when she came in, it was done from the day I started my manifestation practice to, just a year later, I knew I was ready to propose. So it was past that 6-week date. So it's that inner value of saying like, great. And also means saying no to certain things when they're coming in. And the other thing that we do a lot is we both spoke to potential partners before, before we met each other. And I actually even had a plan. Every single new person I was dating, if it got serious enough, I'd say, let's go on a road trip. And we'd go on a road trip, and I had an ebook that I loved. And I'd put on the ebook, and we'd be driving, and and then we'd listen to the ebook together, and I'd pause and say, what do you think of that? And if this person was willing to join me in the idea of a conscious relationship, then I would go forward in dating them. And if not, that would be the end of the relationship. And for Eri and I, we had read all the same books, we had done all the coachings, we had all this. And so we knew very quickly, like, oh my gosh, you're the one that I've ultimately been calling in for so long. And because our values were shared and we stayed true to them and didn't, keep letting our boundaries get passed, we end up finding the right person. And when I was there, even in a world that said, don't travel with kids, can't get married so fast, my mom was not very supportive of our marriage, right? Because of Eri's, whiteness ultimately, right? And non-Hinduness. Like, I didn't let those things stop me. I stayed true to my values. And that is really what I would recommend for you.
Yeah. And I would just like to add that on top of that, as you are doing the deep inner work of knowing yourself, also make requests of the person or people that you're talking with, you're looking at, exploring with, like, can you meet me here? I invite you to level up and meet me in this place. This is important to me. And see if they'll meet you, see if they can go to that place. So for example, when we were dating and we were doing these kind of proposals, it wasn't a proposal to get married, it was a proposal to go deeper together and see if we could open up into that vulnerability next. And so for me, one of my strong invitation requests or proposals to Jaymin was, I wanted to learn more about parenting. This is really important to me. I learned a lot about child development early on. It's very important. And I think it's the key to healthy relationships. So knowing about how to parent is going to help build that up. Or at the time, I was also using a lot of American Sign Language, my second language. And I said, I want you to learn some of this so we can use it with our future children. And he was like, yeah, got it. And for me, he challenged me. He's like, when we're ready to go deeper, let's talk about finances. Let's talk about this while we're dating before we go too far. Let's really make sure we're transparent and clear on what's going on there. And all these things are big topics. So if you want to be with someone, it's like, how do you create the model that works for you? But align to your heart, align to your own values, and don't be afraid to ask for what you desire and see how they respond. And then you get to respond off of their response.
Yeah, especially with conscious stuff. I mean, when Eri told me, I'm like, really? You want me to learn this parenting tool to continue dating you? Okay. But it told me how important that value was to her. And so this is something that I think, when we find something that's close to what we want, not quite there, we feel like, oh, this is the best I'm going to get. And we're afraid of saying no to things. When we say no to things, we let the universe know what we're available for, right? It's like, nope, not available for this. Next one, please. Not available for that. Next one, please. Yes, this is really good. I want this. And then you can actually have what you want. I think the deeper belief here is that you can have what you want. That's the deeper belief to stay true to.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Thank you. And I would just say that I would just like to say one thing. You just gave me the capital of being the weirdo that I am. You just validated it today. Thank you.
Love it. Love.
All the best. Okay. So I think we can ask one more question. Is Madhavi here? Does she want to ask her question? Let me see. She says, Jaymin, How should the partner react if he asks and expresses concern but doesn't wait for an answer? Happens to the best of us.
Hi, Kavita. Thank you for reading out my question. Hi,
Yes.
Jaymin and Eri. First of all, I would like to acknowledge that, Jaymin, it was such a quick response to the question. We said we don't have Eri's name on the desk, and you just did it. So that shows a lot, and a big round of applause for that. Because I believe everyone out here, in every relationship, there's one word we strive for is acknowledgement. You know, acknowledgement. That I acknowledge your hurt, or I acknowledge you're happy, or it's just a nod maybe. And then what happens sometimes post 10 years, 12 years, I don't know how many of y'all have experienced it, that the question is coming in. So how are you? And then it just goes on trailing, and there's no pause for the answer. It's like I want to tell, and then the rigmaroles of life don't allow us to extend. So I don't know if I'm okay with spelling it out right. I mean, I would love to hear your views on it.
Yeah, I think it's a great question.
I have so much to say.
You want to start?
I'll start this time. So I think it really comes down to, again, breaking the model. We all have these patterns. You're either in, we both like to say this, so you're either in a state of pattern or you're in practice. And if you're in the pattern, you're doing the same thing over and over again. If you want to be different, then you need to do something totally different, shift into a new practice that works for you. So especially when a couple is greeting each other, and this is something I was talking to Jaymin about yesterday. I was like, babe, I think it's time to shift how we greet each other when we come home. And there's a lot of studies done around how people connect right away. So something I'm reading right now is about how when the partner who's out of the house comes home, then whenever possible, the person who is home goes and meets them and greets them at the door with a 1-minute embrace. And you're just holding each other, and you're helping each other just relax and welcome them into the couplehood again, into the home.
And if you're not at the point of embrace, it can just be you holding hands silently.
Yeah.
Just, and requesting that.
Yeah, but just finding a way that feels really good. Maybe you're gonna hold hands and look into each other's eyes. Maybe you're gonna close eyes and just breathe for a minute. Whatever that is, to reconnect and really be with each other is so important. So starting to question, how are you being present with each other? Because otherwise it just becomes conversational. I mean, in America, at least, it's like, how are you? Good. Next question. It doesn't even mean anything. You have a pre-programmed response. But what it sounds like you're looking for is intimacy and knowing you're connected to your partner and knowing they're connected to you. And that only comes through the pause and looking each other in the eye. Getting, like, if I have something I want to talk to Jaymin about, I will turn and get his attention, right? And we'll look and I'll hold his hand. And then from that place, I can check in, like, how are you? This is very different than, I'm cooking dinner. How was your day, babe? Right? It's very different. So how can you make it a sacred moment for you both?
Madhvi, are you open to a reflection? Is that okay?
Yes, it is. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. So one thing that I'm hearing in what you're saying is the way you asked your question. Well, after 10 or 12 years, this happens. Number one, I don't know. That's not my experience. And number two, it's your belief that after 10, 12 years, this happens. And maybe your girlfriends and everyone you hang out with, they all say, oh yeah, that's what happens. So you say, oh, okay, well, this is what happens. That's the model. That's the model around you that's putting you into the trap of saying, yeah, this just happened, so you got to deal with it, right? So this is the way that you start questioning, why is this happening in my relationship? So the shift that you can make, the new thing is, someone says, oh, how is your day? And blah, blah, blah. And then they're trailing off. It's like, hey, pause. I want to tell you how I am. You didn't hear me. Can we take a moment? And can you hear me? Yeah, of course. I thought I heard you. You said good. No, actually this and that, right? So you need to begin what Eri was saying before, is making the requests. Hey, I would really love if when you come home and you ask me how my day was, or when I come home and you ask me how my day was, whatever it is, that you pause for a whole minute, hear me speak, and then just respond with 3 words. I hear you. Then whatever you want to say, just say after that. Literally ask everyone here, whether it's Kavita for 32 years or Madhvi for 12 years or anyone else here. just ask of your partner. You know, I love what Raj was saying. It's showing the mentality of generalizing Indian men, but that's just only the first step. Okay, I acknowledge this is how men are, or Indian men are today, or can be, or tend to be. And why am I going to live with that? If I don't like that, I'm going to change it. That's where the shift comes in, right? So how are you going to change it? Hey, you know, I noticed now it's been 12 years. We're just kind of doing this. Can we do this instead? Perfect, right? And then, hey, you did that thing today. Thanks for pausing for a minute. Thanks for doing that. I really feel really good.
That celebration piece you just mentioned at the end is so critical. Acknowledging when your partner has done something that you love. Like, we're always training each other.
Yeah.
We're always training our spouses about how we want to be treated. So if you're letting it slide over and over again, but it hurts your heart, you're training them that it's okay, right? So when we make the request of what we desire, and then they play along with us, I want to celebrate that and let them know,
not
like,
criticize.
whoa, awesome. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but you did the thing. We shifted something. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And even the first few times they mess up, say they pause. Can you just say the 3 words? I hear you. Okay, yeah, continue. Go ahead. Tell me how to fix it, right? Because they're probably going to go into fixing, right? If they hear you, whatever everyone's situation is, there's a typical way things happen. Great. Let's find a new way. That's what we're really about, is finding the new way. How does that feel to you? Does it feel kind of scary and challenging to bring it in, but doable?
I'm going to try right away. I mean, today evening when he walks in, that's what I'm going to do, I'm sure.
Yeah. Just say, hey, before I answer, I have a request. Can you listen to me for 1 minute? And when I finish, just say 3 words. Then we can continue on with dinner. Sound good? They'll be like, okay, yeah, I guess. Just say, okay, the 3 words are, I hear you. Okay, so I'm going to speak. When I'm done, you say, I hear you. Then you can say whatever you want and I'll get dinner. Whatever the scenario might be. See how it is. Message us. I want to see how it goes.
Yeah, me too.
For sure, Jaymin, and I love your chemistry. I mean, and thank you, Kavita and team, for, you know, allowing me to participate in today's fest. Thanks a ton, Jaymin and everyone here.
Thank you so much, and good luck with this.
And I think everyone behind the scenes is talking about just the way Eri looks at Jaymin. So it's like,
wait, what about the way I look at her?
I don't know. It's like, is she going to look at the camera? Is she ever going to look at us? So it's like,
sorry,
just the love. That,
I'm so enamored.
It's just so beautiful. And we could just go on the whole evening, but thank you so much for joining us. And I think from what we learned from you is to be more deliberate about your relationship, be more conscious, respect, love, pay attention. And I think after we get married, we forget that we still need to pay attention to each other and their needs. We think we pay so much attention to our jobs, our children, everything else in the world, even politics and all the things that are wrong, but we don't pay attention to each other. So that's a big lesson, and exactly. I take it from both of you, and just to look into your spouse's face all the time. So I think that's something we all have to practice. Jaymin, next time we have a talk with you, you should be looking at her. That's it.
Yeah. Until we finish.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly how she looks at you.
This is what he does in our workshops, though, too.
Beautiful.
We have a quick thing we'd love to share if you're open to it.
Yes.
So one of the things that I've noticed in my practice is just that one of the hardest things for people to overcome is how to navigate conflict. And we all experience conflict. And so what I did is I created a free training series, a video series for people to just learn some tips on how to navigate. It's a gift. It's for anybody who wants it. I'd love to drop the link for anybody who would like to receive that. Is that okay?
Yes, and we are on a group together. You can put it there. We'll put it on our resources page, which we're keeping open for the entire audience. Anybody who's signed up. So 1,700, 800 people will get it. So thank you so much.
Gosh.
Yes.
Amazing. So there, and then our Instagrams are also there. We'd love to hear from you. If you try any of these things out, please let us know.
Tell us the shifts you're making. This is what we love that. Yeah, we love hearing.
We will absolutely share.
Yeah.
Thank
Again,
you all so much.
thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to Alpa who brought you all in. I think she's here somewhere. Alpa, thank you so much for, opening our hearts and our minds to something new and new people from different parts of the world. So it's always good to keep your mind and heart open for this. Thank you, Alpa. There she is.
I can see how our hearts have just opened up, even though the group was smaller in the day, but each one really opened up. And it's the most interaction, Jaymin and Eri, that we've had all day. It was so real, so authentic. You guys walked the talk, and it was a brilliant finale close for our session. So much gratitude for being who you are and bringing that to us. It is such a gift, and we receive it so fully. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for receiving us.
Thank you.
So much fun.
This is great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See you.
Everyone.
Bye.
Good night.